Good morning, everybody. Very happy to be here. Thank you, Jan, for that introduction. I'm Sindhuja. I lead global programs at FIDE with Rajesh, who's not here today. Happy to be here. I'm here to talk about digital public infrastructure, or DPI, as an approach to climate action. And before we go too much into it, I just want to take a minute to recap. I'm sure we all heard a lot about it yesterday through the day, but I do want to take a minute to recap what DPI is. Just like you have physical infrastructure publicly provided, like roads, water, utilities, that help, that allow a region or an economy as a whole to grow and develop. I need the next slide, please. Yeah. Digital public infrastructure, or DPI, does the same for digital economies of today. And we have been using DPIs every day for the last couple of decades or so, probably without being very conscious of it or even realizing it. These examples must have been quoted a few times over yesterday, but like I said, want to take a minute to recap it so that we realize the power of providing digital infrastructures like these, on which private, public sector organizations, governments can innovate, all because of having a common protocol or language that underlies it. For the internet, it's HTTP. We are all familiar with it. We see it on our browser windows. For email, it is the simple mail transfer protocol. And I want to take you a little further ahead to consider having a similar language or a protocol that enables what we all do today, which is trade, transaction, and commerce on the internet, which, funnily enough, though the internet is open, the digital economies built on top of the internet are not, simply because of the lack of a common language, and which is why it's all closed. We are very familiar with this model, whether you want to book a ride, you want to book a stay, you want to buy something online, both you and the seller have to be on the same platform and transact on that platform. The platform becomes a store of value. It's all locked. What if we could unlock it, unbundle it? You stay on your platform. The sellers are on different platforms. You could probably make a purchase on WhatsApp. The seller could be on Amazon or elsewhere. And you still get to transact and interact on a common underlying fabric, an open network enabled by a common language. And this idea is something that is important to recap, because we've seen that it takes time for this idea to sink in, because it is not intuitive. Even now, if I have to make a purchase, I go to Amazon. I don't look for probably an open network. It's still not the first thought, but it's important to keep looking at it that way. And the common underlying language I was alluding to is beckon, that enables the transaction economy. And there are a few examples I want to quickly again touch upon. Sujit would have spoken about it in his keynote yesterday. He's the CEO and co-founder of FIDE. Some of these are at scale. The Commerce Network has about 185,000 sellers on board already in a couple of years. The Namayatri, which is a three-wheeler ride-hailing service in Bangalore and Mysore, just two cities in 1 year, has about 100,000 drivers registered. These other networks for education and skilling, health and energy are emerging. They are live, but not yet scaling up. We'll get there. These are live in operation on Beacon. So you can see it's completely sector agnostic. It's also technology agnostic, enabling any kind of provider, consumer kind of transaction. And this is not only in India. We're seeing explorations across the world. Jan spoke about a number of examples, so I'll skip those. But a lot of traction in Europe, in US, because this problem is common across the world. Latin America, Africa. Rajesh could not be here because he's right now launching a POC in Belém. So can we take forward the same concept that we have seen in, say, mobility, which is solving an intracity problem, or commerce, which is for a country? But can we take the same approach for a truly global problem, which is in the area of climate action? And I don't want to, the statistics are grave. I think we heard various kinds of statistics all through today and yesterday. But it is important to emphasize that we are consuming a lot, despite efforts in moving towards greener sources of energy. We're still at 83% today. I had 7.2% as a statistic. Jan said 8% of the economy is circular. Any which way, we are wasting 90%, at least 90% of resources that we are using in the economy simply through our take, make, waste model. And this not only requires a mindset change, it requires a lot of supporting entities to come together. And one element of it is digital, which is why I will talk about open networks a little bit more. And we are an interconnected planet, obviously, so the effects, there are ripple effects, cascading impacts to the world. Again, Jan gave a number of examples. I have a few. Spain had 60 degrees, I think, earlier this year. At the same time, there were floods in Amsterdam, Venice, Spain. I mean, it's here, it's happening. It's not some dystopian future. And the time to act is now. Obviously, we have a lot of action in place, but it's all kind of desperate. It seems like a complex problem. There are multiple moving parts. It is a complex problem because of having many interconnected value chains through the world, multiple actors. It's a cross-border problem, not easily solvable by one entity or one community or one individual simply because they are not in control of the entire value chain that is contributing to the problem. So it needs a response that is open and decentralized, and it's simply beyond the ability of one country or one organization, and if you may, any kind of proprietary technology. It needs to be open and decentralized if it is to solve a human scale problem, which is what it is. So it's about distributing the ability to solve. I know Sujit must have touched upon this yesterday, but again, it's important to emphasize this. Not only in the way we operate, but leveraging what we have at hand, digital technology, to help us do this. And this is a bit of a scary looking diagram. I'm sure it's not very clear. I got this from the World Economic Forum. Simply to emphasize, this is where we are today. And if we have to touch upon all the levers of reaching net zero by 2050, 2030, every country has its target, which material, energy, buildings, mobility are the biggest contributors. There are all of these digital and technology solutions required to get there. And it's simply not going to be possible if we have a bunch of disparate solutions, organizations working within themselves trying to tackle this problem. What if there is a way? If we could all learn from each other, collaborate, share our learnings, and tackle the shared challenges of solving this global problem. And Beacon is one such way. I wouldn't say it is the only way, but definitely, thinking with an open, decentralized mindset, using an underlying open network which is based on a common language, available universally, so that all you're focusing on is solving the problem and not about API integration and things like that, which large-scale system integration projects, but really focused on the problem that we're trying to solve, is an idea I want you to keep in mind as I present these 6 specific ideas of how open networks can enable climate action. I won't delve into each of them. In fact, I would ask you to go check out Nandan Nilekani's video. He, the co-founder of FIDE, co-founder of Infosys, tech billionaire, for those who don't know him, which is very unlikely here, also the co-founder of FIDE. He addressed the UN General Assembly, the 78th session of this year, earlier this year, and touched upon most of these. I just want to talk a little bit about circular economy, which Jan actually spoke about earlier in this session. I just want to look at it a bit in terms of having open networks enable the same. But before we go there, these are important problems which specifically open networks can address. The carbon markets are in dire need of transparency and efficiency, perfectly solved by having a decentralized open network. Cities contribute to 70% of GHGs. There are a number of solutions, AI, digital twin, ML, IoT, sensing tech, all of these need to come together to build smart cities. Again, in terms of sharing data or transactions, all of that, open networks are the perfect way. Climate finance, anticipatory climate finance, again, providing a payments infrastructure from government to people or entity to entity, whatever it may be, again, is something DPIs and open networks are perfect for solving. My colleague Anirban Sinha must have spoken at length about energy yesterday, so I won't dwell into it. An adaptation of the Beacon protocol is the unified energy interface. We're seeing a lot of traction and action there in India and elsewhere. No resource is a waste. So that's what the circular economy is about, and a lot of efforts going on worldwide around that. We're seeing a lot of action just in the last 3 months. Again, we were with Jan and Jose doing that. And all of this change is going to lead to loss of jobs, yes, but also a lot of reskilling and upskilling is required. It's going to create 24 million jobs, all the shift to EV, shift to green efficient buildings and all of that. And we are not equipped to provide all of the training, awareness, education, reskilling required, which is what an open network based on skilling and education will provide. Now I'll go a little bit into what an efficient circular economy on an open network can be like. And why, again, it's not a complex problem, it's fairly simple. We use the same underlying fabric that you use for commerce, for forward logistics. Flip it. I consumed something, now I have something, as not just as an individual customer, especially not as an individual customer. It should be at a B2B level, because that is where the scale is. They are mass producing the waste. They want, even if they want to recycle or reuse or use it efficiently, there are no easy ways to discover who are the other entities who will reuse the waste produced. Who are the other entities that can carry on the end of life cycle or upcycle these products, which is where the example of Jan gave of VCG.ai comes to play. This is just, again, one of the entities that is doing a lot of good work in this area, and we're working with them. Basically flipping the whole cycle of forward, take, make waste to can we reuse, can we increase it from 8% to something more that will reduce the dependency on resources. This is all, again, on open networks based on Beacon. And having multiple open networks speaking the same language on Beacon, what this enables is a network of networks. So now you can suddenly unlock combinatorial effects. An agri, I don't have agri here, but agri waste from an agri business can now discover where can this waste be used. This is the chemical composition of the waste, which industry finds it best to use, and ship it there. Because they can all see the information on the same network, they can seek, they can discover, they can book, order, conduct transaction just like you would in a commerce network. Similarly, plastics to road construction, textile waste to building construction. No waste, no resource is a waste, like I said, and if we all had an easier way of discovering ways to dispose our waste or even prevent waste, we would do it, and this is the solution. Some examples that I already touched upon. So, just want to end by saying climate action can't wait, I think pretty obvious. But what I want to emphasize is having open interoperable networks is the way forward to tackle this problem. He said it better than I can, so I will not say anything. Thank you.